Hey guys, and welcome to video number 2 of Wrestlemania Week, where I talk about a lot of stuff, but I'm talking about part 2 of this 4-part miniseries of my favorite WrestleManias of all time. Okay, this next one, I was trying to find the original tape of this one that I must have played at least 100 times. Of all the wrestling events, all the pay-per-views that I've ever recorded, or that, the family has ever recorded, this is probably the one that has been played more than any other videotape. I'm talking about WrestleMania VI, The Ultimate Challenge. Now, this WrestleMania was unique for a lot of reasons. Number one, this was the first WrestleMania outside of the United States. This was in the Sky Dome in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Number two, and maybe most important of all, was for the first time in the history of WrestleMania, and really the first time that any of us fans had ever seen, two baby faces went at it in the main event of WrestleMania. Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior. It can only be described simply as the Ultimate Challenge. But besides that match, there were a lot of other very good matches on this show, like Mr. Perfect versus Brutus the Barber Beefcake, a fun brawl between Bad News Brown and Roddy Piper, the first ever mixed tag team match in World Wrestling Federation history, Dusty Rhodes and Sapphire against the Macho King Randy Savage and Sensational Queen Sherri. Andre the Giant's last match in the WWF as one half of the tag team champions, the Colossal Connection against Demolition. Big Boss Man against Akeem, the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase against Jake the Snake Roberts with the $1 Million belt on the line, and so much more. Now, I will tell you, I do have tapes of the build-up, of the hype, going to WrestleMania 6. And at that time, it was hyped so well. I mean, it was just unbelievable, watching it. And, I was like, who do you think's going to win, Hogan or Warrior? Warrior or Hogan? And watching that match as a kid, it's almost like you're split. You have to pick one. You're either going to go with Hogan or you're either going to go with Warrior. And I will defend this match to the death. I had to defend this at a birthday party I went to over the weekend. But to me, Hogan versus Warrior is in the top 5 as far as the 5 greatest main events in WrestleMania history. And I'll tell you why. Number one, the build-up. You couldn't ask for a better build-up. The two biggest baby faces in the company, title for title. One of them's going to win both titles. Number two, the strong promos delivered by both men during, the weeks going into that pay-per-view and the day of the pay-per-view, where both men gave their last-minute promos before the big match. And number three, the fans. The fans can really make the match. And these fans in Toronto did. It was as if, and I use a comparison, if you go to Japan, if you watch a Japanese show, a Japanese wrestling show, how the crowd is completely silent. That's how it was. It was so good. And they told a great story. They really told a fantastic story. One man has the advantage, then the other has the advantage, then one man has the advantage, and the other man has the advantage, and both don't have the advantage. It's all back in the middle. And then the ending is so great. Because for years, Hogan had always won. And if he didn't win, he was cheated out of a win. Hogan missing the leg drop. Warrior hitting the splash. 1, 2, 3, match is over. Warrior is the new WWF champion. Could you imagine if the internet had been around when this match happened and the response of the shock that the Warrior had beaten Hogan for the belt, it just would have been mind-boggling. And the best part of the match is when it's over, Hogan presents the belt to the Warrior, and he goes off, on that cart riding as the Warrior is celebrating. And I'm not sure if many of you have heard the story. Pat Patterson, he's told this once or twice. Once in the Legends of Wrestling special and the other in the recent True Story of WrestleMania DVD. After that match, he was looking for the Warrior, to congratulate him on a great match. Goes to the locker room, finds the Warrior. Warrior's crying like a baby. And he's thanking him, for, giving him this opportunity to be champion. He's crying, in celebration, but he's also thanking him at the same time, for giving him the opportunity to run the company as the champion. And, that story is so great because here's the Ultimate Warrior, this nut job, this guy who goes crazy, but yet in the locker room after the biggest match of his career, he's crying. He's crying. And if that doesn't show you how much the wrestling business can mean to people, then I don't know what will. Because even the Ultimate freaking Warrior cried after WrestleMania had ended, after the show had ended, with both belts in his hands. Cried. He cried. But, there's so much other good stuff besides that match. $1 Million Man and Jake the Snake. That build-up for a year was great. And this is back in the day when, a whole feud can be built up for a whole year and the conclusion can be like a WrestleMania. And Jake the Snake Roberts, to me, delivers the single greatest promo in the history of wrestling at WrestleMania VI. And it's just so unbelievable. It just pulls you in, If I could, I would play a clip for you right now. But I don't want to get in any trouble with YouTube or WWE by playing an audio clip. If you put in WrestleMania VI, and then you find, the match of DiBiase and Roberts, before that match, Roberts cuts the best damn promo I've ever seen in my life. And still, 20 years later, to me, it still holds up to this day as the greatest promo in the history of wrestling. That's how good Jake was. And unfortunately, this match was sort of a letdown, but it told a good ending. Roberts eventually got the DDT on DiBiase, gave away his money, even gave it to Mary Tyler Moore. And I love the line. I love the line where after he gives it, Gorilla's like, even Mary Tyler Moore got a $100 bill. And then Jesse's like, she doesn't need that money. Ah, you're right. She doesn't need $100. I love that line. It's so great. It's so great. Mary Tyler Moore doesn't need $100. It's just great. And then, what about the beginning? Perhaps the greatest, and I'm saying this as an American, the greatest rendition of "Oh Canada" ever. Robert Goulet singing that. And there's another story behind that one, where, he was so nervous that he was going to mess up singing the Canadian national anthem that they had the words put up so he couldn't mess up. And he nails it. It's so great. And the crowd is singing too. That's what makes it so good. And yeah, every year, it's America the Beautiful or the Star Spangled Banner. But that one time where somebody sang the Canadian national anthem, and you got Robert Goulet, God bless his soul, singing that to perfection. To perfection. It's just great. And then the commentary with Gorilla and Jesse is great. This would be, unfortunately, the last pay-per-view that these two would ever do together. But, they get into so many mini arguments during the show, like during a Tito Santana Barbarian match, where Jesse's like, you know, if Tito had loaded up a burrito and given it to the Barbarian, the match would have been over. Stop it. He would have won on a forfeit. Stop it. He would have gone to the bathroom. Stop it. Chico's revenge, right? And then the other part is when, you know, they're talking about the attendance and stuff, and Jesse's like, and like Gorilla's talking about how, you know, he didn't see what happened during one of the previous matches. And Jesse's like, oh, that's probably because you were eating your 7th or 8th hot dog. And he's like, no, I haven't eaten 8 hot dogs. Stop. Oh, yes, you have. It's so great. Commentary is fantastic with these two. You can't beat it. But that, you know, that WrestleMania is truly the first WrestleMania I remember watching either live or via videotape. Like I said, I wish I found the tape. I could show you. I could show you the tape, because all it is it's a piece of Scotch tape on the front, and it just says WrestleMania, and there's an exclamation point, you know, at the end, and it's all written in pencil. And I just absolutely love that show. It's in that's why this WrestleMania is in, you know, this miniseries of my top 4 favorite WrestleManias of all time. Because this WrestleMania, you know, really still to this day, after 20 years, still means a lot to me, because, you know, this was the first true wrestling show I ever saw on videotape, and I just remember watching that from beginning to end so many times. I just absolutely love that show, and it really doesn't get enough recognition, I think, as one of the great WrestleManias of all time. But to me, it's a fantastic WrestleMania, and really, in a way, and I was thinking about this because somebody wanted me to write an article about comparing the two different big eras for WWF, the Attitude Era and the Rock and Wrestling Connection. And there was going to be a part in there, and I never got the chance to write it, where, you know, where was, like, the downhill, sort of the slide. A lot of people said for the Attitude Era, it was, you know, when Austin turned heel after WrestleMania 17. If you think about it, a little bit of the beginning of the downturn is after WrestleMania 6, when Hogan lost the belt. And, you know, he's, you know, being pulled back away and Warriors celebrating. But, you know, WWF and wrestling in general was still fun to watch and still popular for like another 2 or 3 years. So, but really, WrestleMania 6 is one of my favorite shows ever. And what can I say? It's almost like a masterpiece. But WrestleMania 3 is the true masterpiece. WrestleMania 6 is like almost there. I hope you guys are enjoying this WrestleMania week video on my YouTube page. Tune in tomorrow to see what is the next WrestleMania that I really enjoy that I'm going to talk about. Stay tuned.